I remember as a student when I was in my university days, I became very interested in the disease of leprosy. I had done a lot of study in the Bible and I wanted to understand leprosy. In my lifetime, I had even occasion to see some lepers and been in some places where they are kept. And I was fascinated with this matter of leprosy, and my assumption was that leprosy is some kind of disease that eats you. In writing a paper on this in my university days, I went into all of the material that I could find and saw all of the rather frightening pictures of people who no longer had fingers and no longer had toes, in some cases no feet. In some cases their ears were gone, their noses were gone, great holes in their face, even in the bone structure. And it seemed to me that this must be a disease that just consumed people. However, as I began to study it, I found out that it doesn't do that at all. Leprosy is a disease that basically can be defined as the death of the senses in terms of feeling. What happens is the feeling part of our senses disappears. It's non-functional. And those people are literally wearing out their extremities because they don't know how much pressure they're applying. Tugging on your ear seems a simple thing because you have feeling. Without that, eventually you would wear your ear away, and that's exactly what they were doing. Rubbing their feet off and their toes off because they couldn't feel the pressure that was applied even in the process of walking. Eliminating their fingers through that. The absence of pain is deadly physically. And God has given us pain as a warning mechanism to basically say to us, you have a physical problem. You've got to stop doing whatever you're doing. You're injuring your body. Well, conscience is the same thing in the spiritual dimension. Conscience is a warning device. And everybody has one. In fact, in Romans chapter 2, and I want us to at least begin there as we think about the Word of God tonight. In Romans chapter 2, listen to what the Apostle Paul says. Verse 14 and 15, for the Gentiles, or the nations, ethnes, for the nations who do not have the law, that is to say, they do not have the written law of God, nonetheless, they do instinctively the things of the law. Now, how is that? How is it that across ethnology, the science of the study of peoples, across the world, you find basically the same legal structure, basically the same foundational moral understanding right across the globe, whether or not the Bible has been there? It's because it's into the fabric of man. God has placed the basic knowledge of right and wrong in the very fabric of humanity. In addition to that, verse 15, it says they show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience bearing witness. God not only has built in the understanding of moral law into the very fabric of humanity, it's there as surely as seeing and hearing and smelling and touching and tasting are part of being human. The knowledge of right and wrong is there. That's part of being made in the image of God. And not only is that law there, but the device that warns you when that law is violated is also there, and it's called conscience. And here's what it does, Romans 2:15. It either accuses or excuses. That's what it does. Conscience is not the moral law. It's the device that warns you with regard to your conduct in light of that moral law. A tremendous gift from God. God intends people to feel guilty. He intends them to feel shame. He intends them to feel fear and doubt and remorse and discouragement and depression and anxiety. That's the work of conscience, going into action to warn them they're in violation of the moral law. What a gift from God. What a gift. It's the soul's warning system. A marvelous gift from God. Now, the wisdom of our age, the conventional wisdom, the politically correct wisdom of our time, says that guilt feelings are nearly always erroneous and harmful. And your real problem is that you're listening to your conscience, and you really shouldn't do that because it tends to tear down your self-esteem. And the real problem with you is that you just need to think more highly of yourself. If you're feeling guilty, that's wrong. That's psychologically unhealthy. That's negative kind of thinking, and it's contrary to what really makes you a healthy person, and that's a high level of self-esteem. And so basically, psychologically, we have been inundated over the last 20 years in our Western culture with an effort, an all-out effort to silence the conscience. To program a whole generation of people that hearing the conscience saying, pull up, pull up, pull up, warning you, somehow is sending you the wrong messages. And you really are just a wonderful person. You certainly don't deserve any pangs of conscience. You shouldn't feel shame for anything you do. You shouldn't feel guilty or depressed or anxious or fearful. And you see, that is a wholehearted effort on the part of a secular culture to silence a God-given mechanism that is absolutely crucial to the preservation of well-being in human society. It's devastating to silence the conscience. Then we ask ourselves why there are people who do such unconscionable things. The escalation of crime and all those things that tear at the fabric of our society. Contemporary philosophy, which is psychology, has redefined man as good, noble, and when he goes wrong, inevitably he is a victim. The poor fella, he's never a perpetrator, he's just a victim. This has found its way into the fabric of our culture to the degree that, for example, you have the Lorena Bobbitt case, a very interesting one in America, where she emasculated her husband with a butcher knife. And they took it to court, and they wouldn't convict her of anything because he wasn't a very nice guy, poor Lorena. The whole legal system is now in chaos because we are so trained not to listen to conscience. You shouldn't feel guilty. Everybody's a victim. I think about the Menendez trial in Los Angeles, and we sure get our share of the strange ones. The Menendez trials, two young boys, parents multimillionaires, they went to Mexico, bought a gun, came home, pumped 18 rounds of gunpowder, of bullets into their parents. 18 rounds. I think it may have been some kind of shotgun. And they reloaded 5 times to do it. They shot their parents this 18 rounds while they were sitting eating a meal in the home. Then they took their money out of the bank, spent all of it, and when it was all spent, they went to the police, confessed they'd done it, went to trial, and a jury couldn't find them guilty because their parents really probably didn't treat them very nice. Now, the second time around in that case, there's a little bit different thinking because we found out some more facts. But whatever happened to responsibility? Responsibility goes out the window when you kill the pangs of conscience. We have a whole culture of people who are not listening to the warning system God has given them.